I don't think I've ever seen more discourse surrounding a title in a beloved series from Nintendo specifically, like Pokemon Legends ZA. You either love the game or you seem to hate it, and the fighting is kinda getting worsening every single day on the internet. People want to white knight and defend Nintendo and Game Freak against what they call the online grifters, which are just convenient scapegoat terms for people that they disagree with, obviously. But even the Access media is now turning on Game Freak, and it's kind of nice to see because here's the thing, okay? Pokemon Legends, as a concept, not ZA, but the entire moniker of what a Legends game entails, was specifically meant to be something different from the tired formula of the typical Pokemon games that we were used to. This series was made specifically to take risks with the franchise, try experimental ideas, and sometimes it works. But overall, yeah, Legends ZA is just too safe. Here's an article from Screen Rant: Pokemon Legends ZA isn't bad, but it's everything wrong with modern Pokemon. They weirdly start their article off saying that the game launched to critical acclaim at 79% on Metacritic, which isn't critical acclaim, but alright then. But then it's also pointed out that Legends ZA has one of the worst user scores in the entire franchise, and I actually agree with those user scores. So I have now beat the game's story fully. Took me about 27 hours to see the credits, and that was me also trying to do more side quests as well, so I could have definitely done it even faster if I wanted to, but truthfully, the only part of Legends ZA that felt like it had any modicum, if you will, of an actual budget that was put behind its sequences and gameplay was that final mission. It was genuinely bizarre, however, to play the entire game and be given this laughably inept borderline just good enough to pass for a video game sequence of events that eventually just leads you to an actual cinematic finale that feels like something that would actually exist in a modern AAA video game. You see, the problem is, while the finale of this game is good, credit where it's due, it's also proving that Game Freak really didn't care about the rest of the game either. Because if you ask me, the entire game needed that polish, the love, and the care that was given to that finale, but across the entire game. Why is there only that level of detail and attention in the last hour of this game that you also can't return to, obviously? Why is the rest of the game just the same tired slop routines over and over again? In terms of actual real dungeons or levels in this game, you go underground a few times, okay? 2 times you go underground into a sewer beneath Lumio City. It's impossible to get lost either, because it's just straight corridors and you just run mostly in a straight line through the hallways until the end, and that's pretty much it. Besides those cookie cutter underground spots, the only actual real dungeon comes near the end of the game, which I won't spoil, obviously. It's not much to spoil, but I still won't spoil it. But it's an actual level that feels reminiscent of what games like Pokemon Silver or Pokemon Black and White have done before. Remember how in those much better games, when you would visit the bad guy's lair or whichever game you're playing, that they have the hideouts and they have the teleporters, and you gotta find the keys to open the doors and fight Pokemon and whatnot? You know what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah, Legends ZA has one of those, and I'm not kidding. One single dungeon that is like that, and it's not even very long, really, because once you beat that one level, you never get anything even remotely coming close to what you just experienced in the other games. So besides that one level, it's just Lumio City as a level, I guess. You just run around the same streets using ladders on the rooftops and whatnot, and that's it. I wish I was kidding, but that's really, honestly, genuinely all this game has. And once you actually beat the game, I was wondering, how will Game Freak entice me to keep playing this thing? The answer is, well, nothing much, really. You get one single new wild zone in the center of the map, which thankfully at least allows you to catch all the Kanto starters and the other 2 starters that you didn't pick at the beginning of this game. While yeah, this is nice, the actual wild zone is, well, not very big, and unfortunately the other wild zones which already littered the map, they don't get updated or upgraded with new Pokemon, or let's say even increased levels to them. The Wild Zone 1 is still just as it was when you first started the game, with the low-level Pokemon, and that's pretty much it there. So wild zones become quickly pointless unless I guess you want to hunt for shiny Pokemon, which is so boring that players are already using exploits to get that done. I'm sure you're already aware of that one too. But besides that, you have the ZA Royale, which is the battle system kind of metric thing of the game that is transformed from being rank Z to A to now being infinite in the post game. And you can then grind the ranked battles for rewards like calciums and zincs and much more. So at first I got excited. Oh, I could maybe fight new trainers and get new items. Maybe there's cameos of new Pokemon trainers and stuff I haven't done already. I don't know. So I grinded that first level of the Infinite Royale, which was staggeringly 50,000 points to do, which is a lot, by the way. And then once I was done, I went to turn in my challenger ticket, and the first fight of the Infinite Royale, disappointingly, was just me fighting the first guy you fought in the game's campaign again, this Zack guy. And even more bizarre was that my reward for grinding 50,000 battle points was a fight against that Zack guy again, but his Pokemon, and get this, okay, they were the same level as they were when I fought him at the beginning of the game, and I'm not kidding. Yeah, so I'm at the end of the game, right? And he only has now a level 9 Pidgey again, whereas I am like a level 80-something Emboar, and my whole team is like 80 to 85 at this point, and I just body him immediately. I have no idea if the further trainers increase in level or variety in which Pokemon they end up using, but this one encounter told me at least that from what I played, that Game Freak just wanted me to regrind 50k points every time or then some to just face trainers whose teams I either just don't change level or Pokemon in terms of variety, so I can get some free stat boost items for my Pokemon, I guess? It was honestly baffling. They could have at least turned Zack's Pidgey into like a Pidgeot maybe, that could at least Mega Evolve because it can do that. Could they at least like up his team's level to maybe 75 so it could be like at least somewhat of a challenge? Like I'm in the end game, aren't I? But to then reward me with a battle against his level 9 team, when again, I'm in my 80s, it just showed me that Game Freak, they genuinely just, they don't really care about the longevity of this game at all. Like there's no new game plus, there's no real reason to grind Infinite Royale from what I can tell anyways, and besides that, the only other post-game missions I guess are to catch the 3 legendary Pokemon, Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. I hope I said that right. I never know if I say those names right, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I caught Xerneas so far. It wasn't hard to do, obviously. All you have to do is fight 3 random alpha Pokemon in 3 wild zones across the map. Then Xerneas just kind of shows up, you fight it, you catch it, and that's it. Yveltal was somehow also lazier too. You just have to face 3 VR fights against 3 Mega Pokemon boss battles that you already did in the campaign, by the way. They're just harder now, I guess, so you do that, you win, and then you get told that, yeah, Yveltal is in the city, go catch it, and that's it, it's done. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know how they thought any of this was a good idea, really. I mean, I have like 80% or more of the Pokedex already, without even honestly trying to do that, and I have no desire to just keep playing this game anymore. Once I hit level 99, which won't be a hard thing to do, like, what's the point then? What do I chase then? It's not like the Infinite Royale is really worth it to do. If every cycle of the thing, I just end up fighting a guy with a freaking level 9 Pidgey against him. Like Screen Rant even said, as you can see here, Legend ZA is everything wrong with modern Pokemon. But I would take it even further. It's everything just kind of wrong with these modern slop games. It doesn't offer really anything you haven't seen before, yet it still costs a lot of money to buy. If Legend ZA was maybe $30 or $40 max, I would have way less issues with this game. But when you have lazy development being exposed like this user on Twitter showed, as you can see here, like, look at this dude. They didn't even line up the 2 buildings' designs at all. They just slapped it together and then they went out for lunch. And this is $100 Canadian on Switch 2, by the way, if you can believe it. You had other YouTubers like this Lucky HD person is seen here who calls people miserable for hating on Legend ZA. They, as you can see, claim that the game is great. It's actually somehow in their top 3 for Pokemon games overall, which is crazy to me, but alrighty then. Look, I don't think, however, that you're not a real fan, as Lucky HD said. If you like Legend ZA or something, you can like the game. But claiming that anyone who thinks that it's just not enough and that it's lazy doesn't mean that they're miserable either, or that their opinion is invalid. I get why people like this, and others I'll show in a bit are defending Pokemon because they love the series. I understand. Maybe they have relationships with Nintendo PR behind the scenes and they get free codes to their games. I don't know. I'm not assuming that they do, but if they do, it would make sense to not bad talk these games for future access. But it will unfortunately make you look like a shill in people's eyes if you can make a whole review of Legend ZA, somehow not address the growing issues with it, which are a lot of issues, by the way, and then come to the conclusion that, you know what? This game is in the top 3 for the entire franchise, which again, that is crazy to me. If you ask me, Legend ZA is one of the biggest mixed bags of the year for me. I wouldn't go as far as to say it is the worst game of the year, since other slop has come out this year too. But Legend ZA is definitely proof that Nintendo and Game Freak, they just don't care anymore. Another user with a decent following named Manga Cayman chimed in on the Legend ZA backlash, and they said this via Twitter. So let me point something out. One of the biggest issues in gaming as a whole is the overspending on game development. Now, I agree that Pokemon should use more of a budget for its games, but it feels weird that we're slapping a studio for making a game on a smaller budget. You're right, manga, games should reduce their overall bloated budgets because let's be real, bigger budgets never actually mean better products. After all, every yearly Call of Duty game is like $400 million at least to make the game at this point. I think we can all agree that those games aren't usually showing where that $400 million went at all, since they're just constantly reusing maps all the time and guns and then some. But I think the problem here is that while Legend ZA is made for cheaper, its budget is about $13 million, by the way. It's not that people are against Nintendo using such a small budget, but that they price their games at very high prices instead as well. If your game is $85 Canadian on Switch 1, which Legend ZA is, and like I said, it's $100 before taxes on Switch 2 in Canada as well, your game better justify being that much money to buy. And if you played ZA, you know that it isn't. After all, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt also didn't have a very big budget when it first came out in 2015. Compared to the other games around that time, actually, The Witcher 3 was actually made for peanuts compared to its competition, and it still won Game of the Year. And yet, when you play The Witcher 3, it was a massive game full of voice acting, great storytelling, writing, and much more, despite its lower budget, at least at first glance. CD Projekt Red still made a masterful game that more than justified its asking price. The problem with Pokemon is that it's the single biggest IP in the world right now. But Nintendo routinely cuts the potential of the series at its kneecaps on purpose, and again, that price tag is brutal for what's on offer here. And when you add in things like the game just not having voice dialogue, which believe me, in that final mission in ZA, it ruins the entire experience. Because everything is supposed to be very emotional. The music is swelling, there's so much at stake, and there's nothing coming out of these characters' mouths, and it just feels off completely. So I get celebrating Game Freak for spending less money, but this is clearly way too little for what's being charged instead. The game needs voice acting, okay? It needs a proper endgame where I'm not grinding 50,000 points to fight a Pidgey of all things again either. It needs more varied level design. It should have allowed you to explore outside of Lumio City, at least in the outskirts of the city, to the neighboring forests and whatnot around. And I don't want to hear, oh, they don't have the money for it at the time. Like, if you look at the game's in-game graphics, they could make more, you can make more content for this game in like a weekend, dude. Let's be real. It needed actual Pokemon riding again, which was omitted from Legend ZA, by the way, simply because if you had it, the game would be even smaller in scope. Seriously, you can run from each side of the city in maybe 2 minutes tops. You could fit like 2 or maybe 300 full Lumio cities into just the Velen open world map of The Witcher 3 alone. Maybe even more than that, I'm not even kidding. Like, the game is so small. I just think defending this game is wrong, because all you're really doing is allowing Nintendo to get away with it this time and again, because you don't want to, I guess, hurt Nintendo's feelings or Nintendo fans coming for you. But let me tell you, you should speak your mind instead, because Nintendo, they're a corporation. They don't care about you either way, alright? You could pass away tomorrow, and they won't mourn you, so why are you defending them so hard? I don't want to defend any game company that hard. Xbox is cooked, PlayStation's entire generation currently has like barely any exclusive games, and every exclusive that they do have is just full of identity politics or girl boss nightmare nonsense, and Sony has also canceled more live service games and actual first-party games that they've released this generation instead alone. Like, none of the big three are technically serving their players correctly right now, so I don't want to hear someone say, oh, you're a fanboy of this, but not this. No, okay, for my entire life, I've been playing PlayStation and Nintendo stuff pretty much, and I dropped Xbox like over 10 years ago because, well, it's not very good, let's be honest. And I think that I can also rightfully criticize all of them as they are in everything, that they just need to be better, dude, than they're doing right now for you. Like, for example, Nintendo Switch 2 is barely 6 months old as of this video being made. It has more first-party exclusives already than the PlayStation 5 does, which is 5 years old almost now. That is embarrassing. Like I said, none of them are serving their customers well, so I don't want to hear some favoritism. These hands, okay? They're rated E for everyone for a reason on this channel. I also love the duality of the websites, because obviously Screen Rant and Game Rant are owned by the same corporations. Yet if you look at this Game Rant article saying that Pokemon Legends ZA is being review bombed, that's coming off as if it's a bad thing. Yeah, no shot they're being review bombed. It's not worth the money that you spend on it. Please just go play anything else these days, I beg you. You can buy so many cool games on sale for the price of Legends ZA alone, I promise you that. But funnily enough, if we circle back to that Screen Rant article that I opened the video where they were bombing on ZA, they then say this: rather, ZA's sins go far beyond its surface level qualities, as it damages the entire brand and, more importantly, this particular sub-series. Yes, it does. I think ZA has done more harm than good for the Pokemon brand in the long run, because again, I have never seen this much outcry against a Pokemon game in a long time. Sure, people clowned on Scarlet and Violet, but Legend ZA is like another beast entirely. It seems like people are just finally waking up, I guess. Weirdly enough, however, I haven't seen Nintendo anywhere anyway announce the sales figures of Legend ZA yet. Usually they do this, right? I mean, let's be honest, ZA likely sold millions of copies already. It only needed something like 200,000 to 300,000 copies to just cover its development costs, which it no doubt sold already. But it is weird to be multiple days out of release and no official figures are given by Nintendo. The game sold well regardless, I know, it's Pokemon, I get that. But did it sell to the absurd standards that Nintendo usually wants? We don't know yet. It is refreshing, however, to see a website actually speaking what the players are feeling. As seen here, where Screen Rant just admits that the game is average at best, and interesting that they use Corbeau in that photo as well. Because that's another problem with this game. There is basically zero actual villains in this game, in case you don't know. Corbeau might look evil. His entire organization is called the Rust Syndicate, which gives off like these Yakuza vibes, which is honestly cool to see in a Pokemon game. But no, Corbeau and the Rust Syndicate are not evil at all. They just look evil. In reality, they're actually the good guys. They enter the story as this shady group that swindles one of your team members into a debt scenario. You then have to pay off this debt, which Corbeau sends you on various jobs that are mostly pointless. The first one has you cleaning up a studio apartment from Gengars, and then the second Corbeau sends you is into a sewer to just clean up the mega crystals that are scattered around the sewer, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, things you've already done in this game a zillion times before. He then just weighs the debt at one point that you owe because he's a good guy after all, and that's basically it. It's just lame, dude. Even the new version of Team Flare in this game, they aren't even evil. They're also somewhat the good guys too. Every single person, I'm not kidding you, is a good guy in this game. The big threat is more of a misunderstanding than really anything else at all. Like honestly, the game is so removed of the rough edges in its characters alone that it makes the whole game feel more like a weird Disney movie instead. You even meet a socialite group led by this little woman character named Jacinthe, and she could have maybe been a cool villain veiled as an unlikely ally at times, but no, she's pretty much good as well too. There's just nothing to challenge you here at all. Everyone is good, even the slightest bad guys are just misunderstood. It's so pathetic, dude. I miss the days when Gary Oak would spit on you every time you'd be getting a gym badge or laughing at you instead, or how Silver, the redheaded guy in the second generation, was like a weird Discord freak before Discord even existed. Like Pokemon has routinely removed the concept of a rival pretty much entirely. Remember N? He was actually cool. So why don't we get more characters like that? Where are the bad guys? Why can't there be evil in these games anymore? It's just so lame to see. Screen Rant as seen here even states that Legend ZA has already tarnished the Legend's name, and I agree with that. Like, what's the point of an alternative sub-series of experimental games in your very big IP franchise if you're not willing to take any risks with it? Like, the Legends line of games is meant to cater more to the seasoned players of Pokemon, the older audience, if you will. This feels like the antithesis of what people like myself would want from Pokemon. I actually love the idea of having two mainline Pokemon series concurrently. You can have the main one that targets all the usual kids, you know, being made for them and whatnot, and then another in Legends that can explore the deeper and darker themes and pushing the envelope of what this series can be known for. Like, God, man, Pokemon could be so much more than it is right now, but they just don't want it to be that way. We already know that via the leaks that the next Legends game will be similar to Arceus, but it will take place in the Galar region, but also go back in time too. In case you forgot, the Galar region is the Sword and Shield games, so yeah, you'll be returning there in like a year or two from now whenever they release that one, but these games need to take risks, otherwise, what's the point of this sub-series? Like, credit where it's due, Nintendo has taken risks with Zelda when they did Breath of the Wild. They have expanded that IP with the Warrior spin-off games like Age of Calamity and then some too. PlayStation also did change how some franchises were known, like turning God of War from a hack and slash more so into an action RPG hybrid, where the camera sits right behind Kratos and they made the combat more methodical. Like both examples given here, they paid off in spades too. God of War 2018 sold millions of copies. I don't even need to tell you that Breath of the Wild did amazing either. But if you ask me, Nintendo is sitting on a literal goldmine here with the Legends series if they just allowed it to be what it should be instead of what they're turning it into instead. As Screen Rant says here, Legends as a series needs to take more risks to justify the existence of its own sub-series being a thing in the first place. Game Freak doesn't have to worry about sales either way, and they know that because fans will buy anything that they make at this point. And Game Freak and Nintendo are in a very fortunate and unique position where genuinely anything they make under the Pokemon name cannot fail reasonably at all. They could instead evolve, and pun intended, I know, the series into something far greater than it is. Like, why aren't the Pokemon games that are released ever nominated for Game of the Year? Like, why not? They could be if Nintendo just took the training wheels off the franchise and actually allowed it to shine into what it could always be. Maybe the reason why is because with larger expectations, it means more budget and work to make these games, and since at this point a new Pokemon experience seemingly releases every single year now, Nintendo probably believes that it's safer and and easier to continue what they're doing instead of putting more work, which may lead to delays of the so-called gravy train. But I personally also believe if Nintendo was to allow Pokemon to shine into what it could be, they would actually make even more money and have more pedigree of love from their fans in the gaming industry if they actually did that. Because Pokemon needs their genuine Breath of the Wild moments. They need that true evolution of the series that becomes its new gold standard, and frankly, Legends ZA is just not that. And you know things are weird when even the Gamer.com of all places is clowning on Nintendo with their article titled, "For the first time in my life, I feel guilty about buying a new Pokemon game." They then say this: "Scarlet and Violet felt like the culmination of a lack of effort that's been put into the Pokemon games for some time now. Glitches and bugs were so common they felt like an intended feature. The open world was lifeless and ugly. The soundtrack was completely unmemorable. The Elite Four were just standing in an empty room, so why should I continue to support a company that clearly doesn't care about making good games and only wants to make the next vehicle for selling merchandise?" Wow, actual introspection and journalism from gaming journalists. It feels like I stepped into the Twilight Zone, but they're right. I'm actually agreeing with the Gamer.com for once. I guess miracles can happen, guys. But they then say as seen here that even if Pokemon Legends ZA is good, they won't feel good about buying it either way, and yeah, I agree. Look, it's kind of crazy how Pokemon is looking and playing the way that it is right now when you have, for example, Digimon that just released an apparent banger of a game recently too. So in case you don't know, Digimon Story Time Stranger also came out recently. It's got the same review score as Legends ZA at 79, but its user score, as you can see, is somewhere in the 9s as seen here, like for Metacritic, which is crazy. That's absurdly high for a new game, by the way. As you're seeing in the gameplay on screen, Digimon Story looks like a real evolution of that series. It has full voice acting, a dynamic battle system. It isn't over in 20 hours either and has far more content than Legends ZA. Yet if I had to wager, Digimon probably sold far less than Pokemon's latest entry. I haven't played Digimon Story Time Stranger yet myself, although from the comments of my other videos on Pokemon, a lot of you want me to play it. So I decided to look it up and see what it was all about, and Digimon Story Time Stranger has apparently 475 Digimon to collect. It has side quests, open zones, it's a turn-based RPG, but it spins it on its head sort of like Persona, and apparently according to its trophies, you need to play Digimon Story twice to platinum it. Once on normal, and again on Mega Plus and New Game Plus, which disables the ability to run from battles, and you can use items in combat, and the Digimon get insanely stronger too, which actually sounds kind of nice. And again, looking at this game's footage, I mean, it looks pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Graphics look nice. Again, there's full voice acting, which Pokemon hasn't done, obviously. You know what? Maybe I will play this next. It could be an interesting game to try out, but it definitely looks pretty dang fun, you know, all things considered. But it is crazy how Digimon can evolve its overall concept and turn itself almost into a Persona-like RPG experience. And Pokemon is over here just, well, not doing much at all. And yet Pokemon will still sell more because of brand recognition alone. Like wild, isn't it? But actually, you know what? I will play Digimon here. As I'm writing this, I just bought it on the PlayStation Store. I'll give it a go, and since I just completed Legends ZA, this is probably the perfect time to compare what I just played versus that of Digimon and then see the difference. Look, the point of this whole backlash controversy is pretty simple. People wanted more out of the things that they love. This hate, as some puts it, against Pokemon is not hate per se. It's because people love Pokemon so much that they just want to see it succeed, to see it become what it has always meant to be. You know how your parents probably have at some point in your life yelled at you to get your life together and make something out of yourself? I know my parents did when I was younger. It's sort of like that, except we're all the parents and Pokemon is the kid. Does that make sense? We just want what's best for our weird little Pokemon series, but I'll give Digimon a go and I'll report back to all of you guys if you want to see that. But I think if the gaming journalists are pushing back too, this just proves that even if those without morals usually cannot defend this Pokemon game, yeah, you're likely cooked. But what do you think? Is Pokemon too lazy? Is the hate justified? Or is it truly the grifters online BS that's causing it all? Let me know what you think genuinely in the comments. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'll go try Digimon now and see what that's all about. Have a wonderful day.